Hello, everyone, and I'm sure that many of you have been affected by the UK housing crisis. It's ever in the newspapers, and I'm sure when you try to find a flat, you were also affected by it. How long do you think it would take you to find a housing number in a local plan? That's a 300 pages long PDF. I'm Sebastian, and that's a problem that I want to solve during my faculty fellowship together with the Department for Leveling Up. And the question about the housing number is something that a local planner needs to answer on a daily basis. For example, about the Barnsley Council. And in the beginning, I thought, can't you just do Control F? But you soon realize the housing number is on 49 pages, and even on one page, it occurs multiple times. And the question about the housing number is actually one of the easiest questions. Usually questions are about policy, so they're way more complex. For example, does the plan take a brownfield first approach? And latest at that point, you realize that Control F doesn't solve the problem anymore. So the problem is basically, how can we access information from local plans faster? And the solution that I developed is a RAG-based chatbot. And in this principle, you don't access the whole document, but you chunk it in smaller parts, store it in a vector base, and only take the chunks into account that are most relevant to the question and feed this to the large language model. Like this, you save time and money. The chat prototype looks like the following. You would first upload the local plan, for example, the Ada District Council, choose the large language model, usually GPT 3.5 Turbo, and ask the question, for example, what is the total number of dwellings planned? And within seconds, it collects the right chunks and generates an answer. In this case, 3,718 for the period 2011 to 2032. That would take usually at least 5 to 10 minutes for a local planner. And on the right side, they can also verify on which chunk the solution is based. For example, here on page 20 on the first part. In the next step, once the chatbot was running, it was about evaluating the results. And there were two approaches that I took. On the left side, so you see the numerical approach. So we had a database containing the plan period and the housing number of each local plan and compared it to the outcome of the model. In 76% of the cases, the plan period was right, and 59% of the cases for the housing number. What was more challenging were questions around the policy, because we didn't have the correct answer. So our approach was to conduct several workshops with domain experts, so with local planning experts, that evaluated 57 questions. And the model performed in 43% of the cases correct. That means that it was scored on a scale from 1 to 6, with 1 meaning it was completely incorrect and 6 being perfectly correct, at least a 5 or 6. But we were especially interested why there were so many incorrect answers. And the limitation of the chatbot was that a model is only as good as the data it's built on. So a lot of information were stored in maps and screenshots and therefore not accessible to the model. Second, it lacked like many supporting documents. So usually the answer is not only based on the local plan, but also on additional documents. And lastly, there's often inconsistent wording. For example, housing numbers can be reported in different ways. And even local planners will not get an accuracy of 100% when they try to find the answer. Which leads us to the second problem. Every local plan is unique. Every structure is different. The content table is different. And we have more than 350 of them. And the UK government wants to standardize them. And that's to do so, they want to know what are the similarities of them. And if you would do that manually with 3 to 4 people, it would take more than 3 months. Therefore, the second problem is, what is the structure of a typical local plan? How can we standardize them? And for this, we had another approach. We asked each local plan first, what is the content table of this local plan? Generated the answers, and then based on all of those generated answers, try to create the typical content table of a local plan, which looked, for example, like this. And that helped us to standardize the local plans. To wrap it up, what is the impact of the project? In total, the OpenAI API key only costs £5, and that's mainly due to the chunking, and that keeps the cost very low. Second, the chatbot can save at least 5 minutes for each question that it's answering correct. And the taxonomy analysis allowed us to take a look at 120,000 pages and analyze things according to policy and content. So what are the next steps now? My recommendations for the department for leveling up is, first of all, improve the data quality. Give access to more supporting documents to increase the accuracy. Give textual description of maps so that the large language model can access them, and avoid the use of screenshots. Next, I created a good baseline in the 6 weeks that I worked on the fellowship, but by applying different chunking methods, trying out GPT-4, and using advanced prompt engineering, I'm sure that the accuracy can be increased further. And lastly, for the gradual rollout, I would first give access to local planners that can verify the use cases and also come up with their own use cases. And in the long term, also make it accessible to the public. Thank you very much.